Cool.
All right, so whenever you're ready, that button is right there. We'll just reset it really quick.
Okay.
Hold on, sorry, I got a quick record button. Okay, whenever you're ready, you can introduce yourself and do whatever you need.
Are you doing X Factors for Fantoon or just Dopplering?
That's a great question.
All right, well, we'll find out.
All right.
Is there any sound cues in this run?
Why do you ask?
I'm just asking.
make
Because
sure
your volume, right? If your volume is good, then we're good.
It's fine. It's fine.
Do you want the game louder or
No, it'll be fine, honestly.
Okay, you good? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So whenever you're ready, you can press that button.
Okay.
It's time for any percent.
Alrighty.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is the last game of the speed run. So after this, we'll do our goodbyes and everything. Okay?
Oh, it's the last game.
It's the last game.
You're the closer.
You're the closing speedrunner.
Why didn't anyone tell me this?
Did you look at the schedule?
The schedule was right there. Okay, whenever you're ready, let us know. Press that button.
All right. 3, 2, go.
All right, let's go.
Woo! All right, welcome to Super Metroid. If you've watched previous GFAs before, you've probably seen Elm run this game, but what you haven't seen is Elm run any percent because he usually runs anything but any percent. He'll do low percent, reverse boss order, crazy ROM hacks, but now he's actually running any percent. So this will be a nice treat. So
okay, so I'm running any percent because I recently switched to I guess you could say the crazy route for any percent. But yeah, so this route was implemented in 2014, but people still call it new route. It does the bosses in a different order than intended.
Yeah.
So it does the 4 major bosses. It does Fantoon, Ridley, Kraid, and then Dragon, which ends up being faster because it just reduces backtracking, looping through the planet.
Mm-hmm.
The intended boss order route goes kind of down to Kraid and then straight to Norfair, and does a cleanup of like the good items that are down there. So wave beam, high jump, speed booster, and then
grapple.
Uses those through the rest of the game.
Yep.
Because that route does Dragon 3rd, it's able to get plasma beam to have for Ridley.
This route, on the other hand, does not.
Yeah, so we're doing Dragon last. So wow. Okay, getting
Steam timing. Gets all thrown off.
I'm not even sure what to reasonably blame this on, but okay. Right.
So the thing about this tower tilting section in the series Escape is that if you get off the rhythm, then the timing of the steam just really messes with you. So it's really easy to just get chained like that if you get a little bit off the rhythm. It's surprisingly punishing for the very beginning of the game. Just in terms of time. I mean.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So like Elm said, he's going to be doing what's called new route, new in air quotes. This route is going to start off the same as the old route, and it's not going to deviate for probably about 7 or 8 minutes or so.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
The main difference is after. When I get to Red Tower, which is a pretty recognizable room, I'll be going up towards Wreck Ship instead of down. So we'll be fighting Fantoon as the first boss, and that can get really scary.
Yeah, so very beginning of the game here, he's going to be falling down this section of what was the old Turian. So this was, if you played the original NES Metroid, this is where Mother Brain was and where you escaped up to the planet's surface after setting the bomb after killing Mother Brain. So it's a nice little callback to the NES game there. And when we go down the elevator from Old Turian here, we end up exactly where the original game starts. So this whole retro, what's called retro Brinstar, is a really cool throwback if you play the original game. So pretty neat little thing there. We're going to pick up Morphing Ball. That's the very first item. So that lets you roll into a ball. Pretty important in a Metroid game to be able to roll yourself into a ball, it turns out. I don't know why they thought of this idea in the original game, but, Samus is basically an armadillo. So you might notice as he's running along here that he is aiming diagonally up and down as he's running along, and that's called arm pumping. And what that does is every time you do that, it moves Samus forward a pixel, so it gives you a tiny little bit of free time save, basically. So once we get some items that let us go a lot faster, then we won't need to do that so much anymore. But especially during the beginning of the game here, this just gives you basically a free time save. It's not a huge amount, but it's free, so may as well do it. So coming back up to the top here, the old Turian here, where Mother Brain was in the first game, is now going to, surprise, be not empty anymore. So there's some pirates in here now, and this is what's known as like the awakening section, when the planet wakes up, so to speak. Now the old escape shaft here he's coming up to, this is what's called the climb. So this is one of the first sections of the game where you get to see sort of the skill of a Super Metroid speedrunner shown off here. So you notice he's...
Don't set me up like this.
I'm going to. Well, when you see this section here, you see how he very quickly went straight up the side of this big, tall room here and took out those pirates along the way, doing those continuous wall jumps up the side there. That's, fairly difficult to get really good and consistent at that. Learning to wall jump in this game is a key thing that you need to learn when you first start speedrunning this. It's a absolutely core technique. But it's easy to learn to wall jump, but to do it very fast and consistent like that up the climb takes some practice to get good at. So that's a pretty cool section to see, a good runner like Elm do well. So, we did not get Bomb Chorizo skip. What a shame. So
that's a bad joke.
Well, too bad. I guess we got to make it anyway. So this is the first mini boss of the game. This is Bomb Chorizo. So this statue, Elm is shooting 5 regular shots into it and then finishing it off with missiles. So what that does is that...
I actually got that in one round of farming, which is good.
Yeah, you did. That was very well done. Yeah, that was extremely well done. Very nice. So what that does is each of those pea shooter shots, what we call the pea shooter shots, will do 20 damage to Bomb Chorizo, so 5 will be 100. Bomb Chorizo's health is a multiple of 100. So when you do 5 initial shots and then finish him off with missiles for the rest of the shots, what that does is when he gets below 100 health, he has an extra third phase at the end of the fight. Wow. And by using a missile to deal the last 100 damage and just finish him right off in a single shot, it skips that third phase.
I messed up. I need a missile.
Well, fortunately, there's one right there. Yes.
I shot the 2 missiles on the earlier mushroom that I should have.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's okay.
So it's important for this route specifically that I don't get damage here because I need missiles. Wow. Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
All right. Farming Kago's time.
Well, that's a shame. So those pirates there, we want to use missiles to take them out. They usually drop missiles fairly consistently.
Where are the missiles? Hello?
Yeah, the missile drops are being pretty stingy so far in this, which is a little bit weird, but oh well, we'll roll with it. Marathon luck.
The whole point of trying to conserve my health there was so I had full health so I can guarantee missile drops here. I only need 1 now for this door, but what are the chances I get screwed by all 4 of these?
Well, given the way the marathon luck's going so far. So yeah, so these little enemies here, Elm is going to... there we go. We got one. All right. So what Elm's going to do here is he's going to jump into the air here. He's going to do a morph as he hits the ground, and what that does is it's going to allow him to keep the speed of his dash while in morph ball form. And normally when you're in morph ball form, you move a little bit slower than a dash. And by doing that, you
keep your run speed, basically.
Yeah, you keep your run speed, and by doing that, it allows him to sneak under those gates, which normally you're not supposed to be able to get in here yet. You're not intended to be able to get that pack of super missiles there. So that's called early supers, and this is a really, really key part of the routing in Super Metroid speedrunning. Because what that does is it allows us to completely skip one of the mini bosses in the game, Spore Spawn, what we jokingly refer to as the DLC boss or the pre-order bonus boss, because no one ever sees him.
There and then I landed on the other platform.
Yeah. So Elm's going to pick up a couple more missile packs here. We need a very specific amount of ammunition, just the bare minimum amount that we need in order to get to the end of the game, basically.
I'm getting a bit more than that. I'm going to get a total of 20 missiles.
Okay.
Optimal is 15, but that's like really, really pushing the Metroid drops at the end of the game.
Yeah, and you need to be very precise with make sure you don't miss any shots or anything. Okay. Yeah. So it just leaves a little more room for error here, which for a marathon run, very, very good safety here. So he's going to do another mock ball here. I didn't actually mention that before. That trick where he jumps and then morphs right as he hits the ground with the dash speed to keep the dash speed. That's called a mock ball. that's just a little strat for that room. It saves a little bit of time there, but it's not super key like it is in the earlier room.
All right, I'm going into Red Tower now. I'm going to go straight up.
Yeah, so this is Red Tower, yeah. So this is normally, the intended route here is you're supposed to go down Red Tower to the bottom, and you would be fighting Kraid, the first intended boss of the game from the original Metroid there. But instead, we're going to do this little wall jump here to get up that little ledge.
I was trying to charge that shot and follow it all the way up, but I misfired it and it hit the Ripper on the way up. Which blocked it, so...
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate. But and you'll notice as he was going through that room with all of the spikes there, he jumped and hit the spikes in the ceiling intentionally and then got boosted like that right there. He got boosted forward very quickly, so that's damage boosting. And the way that works is if you face the opposite direction, you get hit. You get knocked backwards, and if you hold the jump button and press that opposite direction that you're facing as you're getting hit, you have a 4-frame window, I believe, to do that.
So it depends. No, it's a 10-frame window for spikes. It's 5 for enemies, and it's 4 for projectals.
Okay, that's where
because
the 4 is.
It depends on the amount of knockback frames. So the amount of knockback frames you get is different from all of those sources. I'm just gonna say because
safety saving for marathons.
Like, okay, if you watch Super Metroid at GDQs, you know why I'm saving right now.
Yeah. So Super Metroid is a very punishing speed run, especially any percent. In 100%, a little less so because you get more health and ammo. But in any percent, death is a very real possibility at many points during this run.
I mean, particularly in this route.
Yes.
So we're going Fantoon first, and normally, in an old route in intended boss order, you'd have at least 2 energy tanks and Wave Beam and
the various
suit, which halves damage.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to do this trick called a CWJ.
Yeah.
It's a 1-frame jump into a 2-frame wall jump off this pillar to get across the moat. I missed it.
Barely missed it.
I missed the 2-frame jump, which is the easier one. CWJ stands for continuous wall jump, and basically, if you're able to trigger the wall jump pose on either side of a platform that you're jumping at without changing direction, you can preserve all of the speed from your initial jump into your wall jump. So what I just tried to do there was a backup strat called HBJ, horizontal bomb jump. And this is really tricky to get the bomb physics to propel you correctly, and I didn't quite get across. This room, you're supposed to have grapple to get across. Any percent old art uses speed booster. There we go. That's a better bomb jump.
Nicely done.
All right. Yeah. So that room is one of the biggest early game run killers. The next kind of run killer is the luck you get on the Fantoon fight. Fantoon does figure 8s around the room before opening his eye to where he's vulnerable, and these figure 8 patterns, he has 3 lengths of them: slow, medium, and fast. Medium loses 5 seconds, and slow loses 10 seconds, and depending on your skill and your strategy, it can take between 2 and 4 rounds to kill him. So if you get bad luck on those patterns, that can add up. His flames also do 40 damage, so I have to be really careful. So the strat I'm going to be using on him is I'm going to try and shoot a beam shot right where his eye is going to open, because you can kind of tell what pattern, where he can open up, where his possible patterns are. I want to shoot his flames out right as they open up to knock out all 8 of them at once, and then start hitting with missiles. Oh, that's a fast pattern. That's lovely.
Very nice.
Okay, so I do 2, 2 to make him not disappear, and then, wow, okay.
Very nice.
Okay, so I'm at 12 so far. I need 19 and then a super. I need 7 more missiles and a super. So the strat I'm using to get extra missiles in towards the end of the phase is called the Doppler effect. Wow, okay, usually opens up a bit there. So this is a slow. Anyways, need... Yo, 3 round, let's go.
Nice. So that was a very nice Fantoon fight. So this fight, especially in this route, is very difficult and a really easy spot to die. So doing that in 3 rounds is really, really good. That sort of Doppler effect that El mentioned, where
it's basically what you're doing is he wants to disappear after the 5th hit because it surpasses his damage limit for the round. But if you can essentially stun lock him with missiles by firing them at the correct rate and also walking towards him to push them into him, so that the missiles strike him before he has a chance to disappear. So that's called the Doppler effect. So the top runners, I would say, they're practiced in getting Fantoon down in 2 rounds with the very long, a very long Doppler per round that gets a lot of missiles in. But 3-round is pretty reasonable to shoot for.
Yeah, a 3-round is considered that's a good Fantoon fight. You know, a 2-round is extremely difficult to get there. You've got to be really, really good with your Dopplers, which is pretty tricky.
Yeah, and you have to set up the patterns differently. You have to get him to like move around in a slower way. So if you aren't sure you're going to get a 2-round, it's actually better to just go for the 3 rounds, like I did.
Yeah, so this room here is called the Attic, and what you have to do is kill all of the enemies in this room in order to be able to exit.
That Key Hunter, the flying dude, does 60 damage if he hits you, so it's like kind of precarious here.
Yeah, the enemies do quite a bit of damage.
So I'm going to be going through a room soon called the Bowling Alley, and in an old route you would Shine Spark through it, or you know, just you need to tank 2 spike hits if you don't Shine Spark, and I can't Shine Spark because I don't have the speed booster. But the spikes do 30 with Various Suit. I don't have Various Suit, so they do 60. So I'm going to take a minimum 120 damage here, and that's if I don't screw up a jump. So this is like really precarious. I'm actually very fortunate to have full 199 health here. You do not often have that, so...
Nice.
So
very good.
What's my grab? Okay, well, this isn't too bad, really.
Yeah, so welcome to bowling. This is where you get a break in the run. You can check your messages and you check your social medias, you know, all that stuff. So you need to wait for this Chorizo statue here to carry Samus down, walk through these spikes, and walk down a set of stairs here. And
technically, this isn't a Chorizo because the Chorizo refers to the animated Chozo statues that attack you.
Fair enough.
I just want to say one thing. The chat is really rooting for you. So
hi, chat.
There's a lot of people that's just conversing because you're playing. So good job.
Thank you, guys.
It's a lot of pairs and pair.
There better be a lot of pair puns.
A lot of pair puns happening.
Yeah, there better be a lot of pair puns.
Yo, are there any CCCs in chat?
All right, so now this is the intended item pickup from Wreck Ship, and this is the gravity suit. So this lets us move normally with normal physics in water, which is super useful, as you might imagine.
It also protects from heat, which is what the Various Suit's supposed to do.
Yes.
So it's like, in a sense, the game assumes that you would have already had it here.
Yeah, it gives you both suits, essentially, for the most part.
For the most part. There's like one tiny exception that is a reason I still have to grab Various Suit.
Yeah.
But I will be able to do all of Norfair without it, at least. It also gives you like the full damage protection, which is cutting damage down to 25%. So now that I've done that, like basically, the good thing about Fantoon first route in terms of speed is you go up there, you get Gravity Suit, and then you're all set to do all the stuff in the game down here. So Norfair, Meridia, no problem. You don't have to backtrack really for anything.
Yeah, this just makes your routing way, way more efficient, and that's why this Fantoon first route is so considerably faster.
Yeah, the boss fights are slower in general because you're underpowered for them, but it makes up for it in terms of routing.
All right, so what Elm is doing is going in here to get the best beam in the game, which is Spazer Beam. So in the Fantoon first route, this beam is really nice because it helps your damage output. In the old route, where you would do the bosses in the intended order, typically if you were doing the faster strats in the old route, you would not get the Spazer Beam because it wasn't worth the time, and you use different strategies for the bosses, basically.
You'd get Plasma Beam later in the run, and that would completely obsolete it anyways.
Exactly.
Plasma Beam, it by itself, is more powerful than all the other beams combined, but it's only accessible after beating Dragon, and it's fairly far out of the way, too.
Yeah,
so.
And in this particular route, we do Dragon last, so at that point, going out of the way to get the Plasma Beam just isn't worth the time, basically. All right, so now we get to go down and pay our first visit to Norfair, where we get the actual best item in the game.
Our first and only visit to Norfair, mind you.
Yeah, well, much different from the intended, when your intended first visit to Norfair is
Okay, I have to ask, which is the best item in the game?
High jump boots.
Okay.
High jump boots. High jump boots is the actual best item in the game. If you're not running 100%, if you're running 100%, then it's Springball. Yeah, so this is the high jump boots. These let you jump higher, as the description might clue you into. It doesn't
people
sound
are
like
over
much.
reliant on the high jump. They should do more low percent.
Fair enough. Well, it sounds kind of silly to say, but a lot of people consider high jump boots to legitimately be the most useful item in the game because the higher jump height that you get from them just allows you to do a lot of faster strats, and it also makes it has an interesting property when we're going to go pick up an item called the speed booster in a little bit that lets us run really fast, and your physics get changed. Your jump physics are different when you have the speed booster on. The way that you accelerate and gain momentum is different, and if you don't have high jump boots but you do have the speed booster, which can come up in low percent or a randomizer, say, your jumping physics are kind of weird and frustrating to deal with because you don't jump as high as you think you would otherwise. And
Yeah, basically, speed booster stunts your jump, can stunt your jump height if you run a very short distance and you don't have high jump boots.
yeah, so it takes some
because the
getting used to.
calculation, like it's supposed to add, it's supposed to add jump height, but the calculation for it ends up with really weird values if you don't have high jump.
Nice ice escape there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so there you want to freeze a platform and a tripper, those are called. And use it to get run speed to mockball with. It's actually really precise to get that off of one platform. It's much easier with two, but you can make do with one if you run the full length of it.
Yeah, we actually, as we were casually having a conversation, Elm was just executing hard strats.
That's not that. Well, okay, yeah, I just did say it was kind of hard.
All right, so next we're coming up to an area of Norfair known as Bubble Mountain. When you see the room, you'll see why it's called Bubble Mountain. It's a mountain of bubbles. There is...
This is Metroid MST's favorite room.
Yeah, so we're going to wall jump up here.
That was entirely my fault.
Yeah, so this enemy up here is called a Cack-Attack, and this particular Cack-Attack is known as King Cack-Attack. He is the king of Bubble Mountain. And some people refer to him as the true final boss of the game because, as you notice there, he can just knock you down when you're trying to wall jump up
Well, yeah,
there.
so the
Very
danger there
annoying.
is that he'll randomly shoot out his spikes, and that can cause you to fall if you don't do different strats that take precautions for that. But he didn't even shoot his spikes there. I just straight up missed him with my shot. So it was my fault.
Yeah, you gotta be careful when you're jumping up Bubble Mountain there. So now we actually have Speed Booster. So Speed Booster allows us to go real fast, which in a speed run is just great.
Speed Booster makes moving properly a lot more difficult.
It sure does. So you notice when you hold the dash button down now, Samus accelerates and then eventually starts going into this blue state where you've got the what are called speed echoes behind you. And at that point, when you hit the speed echo state,
I usually try to leave with at least 7 supers here. You want as many super missiles as you can for Ridley, because we're going straight to Ridley right now. I'm gonna stop here quickly and grab Wave Beam to further increase my damage output.
Yeah, we're on our way down to Lower Norfair to fight Ridley at this point. Yeah. So the speed booster has some cool properties. When you reach the speed echo state, you deal damage to enemies. You can run through things. You can break blocks with it, and it's very useful in some of the boss fights that you're going to see later on. Some of the boss fights in certain rooms. We're going to be using that to kill some enemies pretty quickly. So. In the meantime, we're going to pick up Wave Beam before heading down to Lower Norfair, and Wave Beam allows your shots to pass through walls, through solid walls. So this is really useful for opening certain gates that can only be opened from one side, for example, and also just ups the overall damage output of your beams as well. It adds to the amount of damage you do.
That door open strat is like a little bit faster because it lets you run towards the door with peace of mind that it's already open. So that's like a tiny thing. Like the going through walls property isn't hugely important in this run, but the damage output is. And there's also a special beam attack using solely the wave beam called the X Factor that uses power bombs that is very important on a couple of the end game bosses.
So now. We're going to be going into Lower Norfair here. So in order to get into Lower Norfair here, you're supposed to have an item called the Space Jump that allows you to jump continuously.
This thing I'm doing here is called a gravity jump.
Yeah.
I'm unequipping gravity suit.
Very nice.
Yeah. So the reason I do that is to basically give myself water physics mid-jump. Water physics have your jumps decelerate much more slowly. So you can abuse that with like the speed of a land-based jump combined with the deceleration of a water jump.
That's essentially what that does. Is you start a jump with the land-based physics to get that initial acceleration, and then you pause mid-jump and take off the gravity suit, because you can do that.
All right, so this is supposed to be like the last major area in the game, and we're doing it second. So I also only have 2 energy tanks, which aren't full, and I don't have the strongest beam in the game, which the game expects you to have here. I also don't have space jump, which the game expects you to have here for mobility.
Or screw attack.
I'm going to do a short charge here in my speed booster to spark through these pillars.
Very nice.
There we go.
All right,
fairly tight.
That's some fast pillars there. So yeah, so now
this is called the worst room in the game. The strat for it without space jump is like extremely precarious, and it basically, like, if you mess up at all, you are gonna have a bad time. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm having a bad time here. Okay, there we go.
Okay, there we go. Nice,
I gotta jump over this guy here too, which is Oh, okay, yeah. Well, that didn't work out very well. All right.
And this is why we safety saved.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
I'm actually just gonna grab. Oh crap! I didn't do that jump correctly.
Acid,
okay.
acid.
This is gonna be interesting. Okay, I'm actually gonna detour for a different energy tank early here because I'm not surviving this with 4 energy.
Yeah. This is a little bit precarious. But that's okay.
Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, so yeah.
Thanks for the big energy drop there.
Yeah, normally this would be a possible option for an E-tank on the way out of Lower Norfair, but I'm just gonna grab it now.
Yeah, this is just a good backup strat. This is it's definitely faster than dying. So yeah, just due to the energy levels here, everything with the low number of E-tanks, everything in Lower Norfair does a ton of damage because this is supposed to be the final area that you go to.
A ton is usually 50.
Yeah. Well, these key hunters do. They do 50?
They do 50. The gold pirates do 50.
Yeah.
The spike platforms do 50.
Yeah. Well, when 50 when you only have 2 E-tanks is a quarter of your health. So it's fairly precarious, especially when you're about to go into a boss fight as well.
Yeah, so you need 3 energy tanks to survive Mother Brain's Rainbow Beam at the end of Phase 2, which is a scripted attack. So, like, optimally, you're grabbing 3 E-tanks being the minimum, because you're not going to be getting extra E-tanks because it's a speedrun. But, yeah, so... but I have my 3rd E-tank now. It's kind of like... it can kind of depend where you choose to get your 3rd E-tank. The safest is to get it after the Ridley fight, which... I wanna kill these pirates with Shine Spark Echoes to conserve my super missiles, because aside from 3 supers each, I don't have a great way to kill them. And okay,
nice.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah, he's very good. That also gave us a bunch of health drops, which is convenient as well.
Yeah. But you want to conserve as many super missiles as possible for Ridley because he takes double damage from them. It's fastest DPS for him, and we don't have the strongest beam either. So
yeah, super missiles are going to be the absolute fastest damage output that we can get on Ridley. So we want to have as many of those as we can. So all right, this is the Ridley fight. So Ridley is a little difficult because his AI is surprisingly complex for a 16-bit game. There we go. So what you want to do is what Elm's got him doing right here is he's what's called pogoing, going up and down here with his tail. You want to try to get him to face to the left and pogo in the corner like that. He's going to try to sneak under him and just
yeah. So there's
that.
no safe spot on the right, so I can't do it when he's facing right.
Yeah. So
there is a way to manipulate him to get him to turn around. Also, when he hits 80% health or below, he starts being able to do U swoops like this, which you have to pay attention to. Okay, yeah, so... What's he doing now? Okay, he's pogoing. So if he's pogoing the wrong direction, you can manipulate him to turn around by doing a spin jump at his tailbone height and breaking out a spin. That will get him to break out of his pattern and start a new pattern, which hopefully for you is pogoing the other direction. But swoops are good too with charge shots, because you have plenty of time to charge the beam while you're waiting for him to get it back on screen. I jumped a bit too early.
Still okay though. There we go. Yeah, reading Ridley's patterns and knowing, anticipating when he's going to swoop and what he's going to do. is it takes a little practice. Even very experienced runners will still have trouble with the Ridley fight sometimes. It can be fairly precarious. Or sometimes he swoops a little later.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah, so very nice fight there. So what happens when Ridley runs out of donation? Oh, you got a
We're
donation.
just gonna do a quick donation
Yeah, go
from
for it.
Naylene. Shoutouts to Elminster, who's an amazing runner in person. Learning so much about Super Metroid from you. Hope to one day apply all that knowledge to the game myself. Much love from Naylene.
Nice.
Thank you so much, Naylene. That's really cool.
Very nice. So
Naylene's an awesome person, by the way.
So what happens at the end of the Ridley fight is when Ridley runs out of HP, he doesn't actually die immediately. He kind of keeps flying around and still trying to hit you. And what happens is you can trigger the death sequence by intentionally getting grabbed by him. So that's what you saw Elm do at the very end of that fight there. So now we've got an extra E-Tank. We've got 4 because we picked up the Ridley E-Tank as well. So we should be pretty good, I think.
Yeah, normally in a run I wouldn't pick that up with as much health as I have, but in case I screw up Key Hunter dodges, I don't have the Firefly E-Tank as a backup anymore because I already picked it up, so for safety I think it was good to get it.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Yeah.
So like there are kind of 3 different options you have for energy tanks. Oh, okay, wow. I didn't get enough space to charge my speed booster there for the speedball. Speed booster breaks bomb blocks. If you do speed booster plus mock ball, that's called a speedball, and it can get out of that room very fast. But without a good way to deal with those Disc Gigas, it can be tough to do in that room in this route. It's much easier with plasma. You can take care of them really easily with plasma. Okay, nice.
Very
Keeper
nice
dodges.
dodge there. Very
Yeah,
good.
so these guys do 50 damage, and if you aren't grabbing Ridley's E-Tank, it's more optimal to grab Bot Twin's E-Tank later in the run, because you actually like really want a health refill there, and it's also directly en route. You don't have to go into an extra room. But for safety, like if your health is low, you can opt to grab a different E-Tank instead. And if you're in a real pinch, you can sometimes grab 4. Like sometimes it's better to grab 4. There are people with 43-minute personal best, which is a very good time, that have grabbed a 4th E-Tank in their runs.
Very nice escape there, yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of like smooth movement through the room. Kind of manipulates the key hunter positions to be where you want them to be, but things can go wrong really easily there.
Yeah, those 3 key hunters, they're usually referred
Did
to in
I
the
get hit
community-
by a single one of those? Actually?
No, you didn't. You
Okay.
dodged them all.
Okay,
You
that
dodged every one of them.
was really favorable.
Yes,
then.
that was very good. Yeah, so those 3 key hunters are known as the 3 Musketeers. They guard the exit from Lower Norfair there, and getting past them without dying can be very precarious since they do a whole bunch of damage.
Yeah, so you might have noticed that I chose to. Wow, I have no super missiles. This is a problem. You might have noticed I chose to unequip Ice and Spazer, so I only have the Wave Beam. I mentioned earlier there's the Wave Beam is good for a special beam attack called the X Factor. So if you only have Charge and Wave equipped and you equip Power Bombs and hold a charge shot for 2 seconds, depending which beam you have equipped aside from Charge, different particle effects can happen. But the wave one's the most useful because it produces 4 high damaging particles that converge on you like an X. That's why we call it X Factor. The shapes of the other ones just aren't as useful. But each particle does the same damage as a super missile. So we're going to use that to help with the Bot Twin and Dragon fights a little bit.
Yes, we sure are. But before that, though, we have to kill Kraid. And so what we're going to do is we're going to try to do a quick kill that will skip the second phase of the Kraid fight.
Yeah, this is like one of the first things people try to learn probably in Super Metroid.
Yeah,
because Kraid's the
definitely.
first boss in the old route, which everyone who's running the game should really start with the old route because it's much easier to actually get through than this.
Yes,
but-
do not start with the route that
So
Elm is
if I
doing.
if I manage to super him.
Nice, quick kill.
There we go. If
Very
I manage
nice.
to super him on a particular frame of his mouth opening of that animation, it stun locks him, so I can get the remaining supers in without him advancing to a second phase.
Yeah, you get all the damage in to kill him before he actually manages to stand up out of the ground. And so if he stands up out of the ground, it's usually known as taking Kraid to prom.
Yeah. So we delay Kraid up until this point because getting Speed Booster from Norfair makes the trip through here faster. And you also get free super drops from this mini crate and the crate himself. And the super drops, your super count is pretty important for Meridia. So it's better to do crate third rather than second. And you don't actually need the Various Suit for Norfair because gravity actually protects against heat for you. The only reason I'm grabbing Various Suit is because I mentioned Mother Brain's scripted Rainbow Beam attack does 300 damage. As far as damage reduction goes, it only checks for Various Suit. It does not check for gravity. So if I did not pick up Various Suit, it would do 600 damage to me, which would kill me. So kind of need Various Suit for that and that only. My super count still really isn't great here. Oh well, I'll have to deal with it. I might have to do some extra charge shots on Botfoon.
Yeah, it might be slightly slower, but it should still be okay. So, all right, now going into Meridia. So, we're coming up on the last mini-boss of the game, only the second one that we see. There's a mini-boss in each of the major areas as well as a main boss. And so you're intended to fight, all 4 of the mini-bosses and all 4 of the main bosses, but we only fight 2 of the mini-bosses during the actual speed run, since we end up skipping the other 2. All right, so this is the other mini-boss. We get to see Botwoon. He's a SNEC.
This is sort of a sound cue, so
yeah.
I kind of messed it up. Well, I don't usually.
Oh no, there is. I was gonna say I think you got him.
I hit him with 2 of those 4 particles maximum. I know because I heard. Okay, this is.
Did you hear 2 hits on him?
I heard 1 hit, but I also visually saw 1 miss, so that makes 2.
Okay.
And then I missed 2 supers, so this fight's not going well.
Yeah, well, it'll be a little bit slower than usual, but we'll just have to do some charge shots on Botwoon's head here. Botwoon's hitbox is a little weird. He's only vulnerable on his head, so when he's swimming around like this, it's really easy to hit his body instead of his head with one of your missiles, with one of your missile shots or your charge shot, and not deal damage on him. So when you only have a limited amount of super missiles like we do in this run.
Wow, he actually gave me 2 super missiles. That is well above average, I would say.
Yeah, for Botwoon, yeah, Botwoon doesn't usually drop supers. So what Elm is going to do here is he's going to attempt to charge a Shine Spark and then carry it up this wall here and jump through
yeah,
the
that
room
down
here.
grab was really good.
That was really good. This looks pretty good.
Oh, come on!
Oh, you goofed it.
Yeah,
okay.
so it's really easy to accidentally Shine Spark vertically instead of horizontally because the input for horizontal Shine Spark is complicated. But basically, like you have to wall jump all the way up and then run through the door and then jump up a tile to be able to Shine Spark across this entire room. That's called the full half view.
Yeah,
and
it's very very precise to get. The window is very small to get it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate there. I think Elm's setup for that was actually really good. It's just that he accidentally Shine Sparks straight up instead of horizontal.
Yeah, oh well.
That does happen sometimes. We call that goop sparking when that happens. It's just named after one of the community members.
Yeah, it's named after a runner named Goop Q, who doesn't really run anymore, I think. But yeah, I'm going to charge a Shine Spark, Dragon being the only boss that's vulnerable to Shine Sparks, and I'm going to try and combo an X Factor in at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I failed to charge the Shine Spark, which...
Dang.
It's really, like, for me personally, it's really hard. I have a mental block with doing that at the same time as the X Factor. If you actually do that properly, it can take up half of Dragon's health in 1 round. But yeah, Dragon, only boss that's vulnerable to Shine Sparks. Oh, come on.
Yeah, so Elm is attempting to charge a Shine Spark on the floor of the room here. And then, Shine Spark into Dragon like that. You see Dragon's getting pretty close to death here because you can tell. There we go.
Okay.
Very nice. Got the blue suit as well.
I need to wait for the drops because 90 is not enough health.
Mm-hmm.
But this blue suit, this is a glitch that the game interrupted my Shine Spark because it tried to force me into a standing pose when Dragon dies. So when your Shine Spark is interrupted, the game still thinks you have the speed booster effect active. So basically, as long as I don't run, the game doesn't remember that I'm not supposed to have Speed Booster active at a standstill, and it's going to let me just charge a Shine Spark whenever I want here, 1 time. And I almost... Okay, wow.
Dang.
I am not having great luck today with Shine Sparks. So that's supposed to be like... that's supposed to carry you back across here. The hitbox of like Samus's hitbox while she's shine sparking,
It's a little weird.
it's not really like the hitbox itself isn't weird. You can't blame the hitbox, but the sprite and the hitbox
They don't match up.
don't match up
Yeah.
quite how they should.
Yeah, I guess that's what I mean by it's weird. It doesn't match up with the actual sprite.
I should have gone over that, but I was just a bit too low. And passing by the Botuni tank again, which you can kind of see why that's the ideal one to grab as your third. But sometimes it just, your health situation doesn't work out that way.
Yeah, and you'll also notice, you know, we mentioned a few times that Elma's been doing what are called short charges for the Shine Sparks. He's been charging a Shine Spark in a smaller amount of space, like, for example, the floor of Dragon's room, where you're not normally supposed to be able to charge a Shine Spark in there. But what happens is the game wants Samus to run for a certain amount of time before activating the Shine Spark state.
I'm doing this jump again. This is
There
this
you
is
go.
too cool to not.
Yeah, that is a cool jump. It just looks like a big blind leap of faith. It's pretty cool. All right, we're not killing the fish today. The fish lives. Some people get very upset if you kill that fish on the way out of
I
Meridian.
can't afford to kill that fish with this ammo.
know.
Ammo, so like I'm going to Turian right now because Dragon's the 4th major boss I've defeated now. So now that's open. But in this route particularly, your ammo and health situation is often abysmal going into Turian. It's usually fine in old route. But
Yeah,
here, like
ammo-
I've only got 14 missiles and 2 supers. And I have to use my super missiles, missiles and super missiles to kill Metroids. I have to clear out 4 rooms of them. So because I'm on low ammo, I need to be basically full ammo at the end of this so that I can break Mother Brain's tank open. So to kind of make sure that I get enough drops from the Metroids, in a couple of the rooms I'm going to have to be doing gripping strats on them, like kind of getting them latched onto me, so I can kill them all with 1 super missile instead of killing them separately. It would be faster to kill them separately, but I just, the ammo conservation is...
Ammo
essential
conservation
here.
is key in Turian, Yeah, so the other thing that we're going to be doing is, I'm assuming, do you go for ice or... you didn't get ice, actually. No, you did get ice, sorry. Are you going for ice or speed, Zebskip?
Going for
Which
ice.
one do you do, ice? Okay.
There's no reason not to do ice here,
Yeah.
because I don't have screw attack.
Fair enough, yeah, that's true. You need to turn it off anyway. Yeah, so this part here is the entrance to Turian. So in order to get into Turian, you need to beat the 4 main bosses of the game, and when you beat each one of them, as you see, the eyes and the statues go out and they turn gray. And this is a big, long cutscene, so how are we doing for time on Turian entry?
I should be able to sub 50 still, but...
Oh well. It's a marathon, it's fine. We're still be underestimate, it's all good.
I would be mad if this was a tournament race.
Well, just consider it practice for the tournament, yeah. So, yeah, going into Turian, we're going to be freezing Metroids. We're going to be using missiles to kill them. What we want to see is good ammo drops from these Metroids. We want, like, missiles and super missiles especially to be dropped from these Metroids. So, hopefully they're nice to us. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I might have to reload the 4th room and farm them a bunch if I end up on really low ammo, because it's absolutely essential I have at least 20 and 9 by the end of this. So I'm gonna group these, which is a little bit dangerous actually, because it costs a lot of health. But the idea is you lay a bomb like so after grouping them and run through the bomb to detach them, and I did not do this correctly. Okay.
Wow.
What is this super count? This is terrible.
Oh, yeah, we're not getting any super drops from these Metroids.
This is actually insanely bad.
Yeah, this is some very bad luck here. Okay,
that's
there
better.
we go.
That's more like it.
Ask and ye shall receive.
Alright.
Alright, that's much better. So yeah, this is the 4th room here. This is the last Metroid room. We're just going to dodge these Metroids and group them all up so we kill them. Alright, we're good on ammo now.
Okay, my
Perfect.
health is not close to full, but it's more than I would have if I was only doing 3 tanks, so that's okay, I guess.
Yeah, and you could take the energy refill if you really wanted to.
I might have to anyways, because there's this trick called the baby skip, where like this baby Metroid is had experiments done on it. It's fully grown now, and it's gonna try and latch onto me. And you can skip this whole cutscene stuff if you. Okay, I'm not getting it now. I just completely flunked it.
Well, we didn't skip the cutscene, but we can at least face to the right. So, if you get caught by the baby Metroid here, the fully grown baby Metroid, which most people will, you can save a tiny bit of time by facing to the right when you run out of energy and the Metroid flies off here.
It saves 40 frames because Samus doesn't have a stand-up animation when she's facing right.
Yeah, exactly.
Silly reason.
So, well, now you have to take the energy refill, so moot point, I suppose.
Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of what I was saying earlier. That skip, I'm kind of disappointed that I failed it that way. I just stubbed my toe. You wanna do a full jump like right at the end of that running to that pillar thing. So that was pretty unceremonious. The way the whole skip works is you kind of do jump rope with the baby Metroid and like kind of jump around in circles, manipulating it so it goes around you and doesn't grab you, and then eventually make it to the end. Which you can do in like, I'm just gonna save here in case.
Just in case something goes wrong. Which
yeah, because like there are a bunch of things that can go wrong here.
Yep.
I have to use all these missiles to break open Mother Brain's tank. I pretty much have to use almost all of them at this point.
Yeah, first what we're going to do is Elm's going to try to clip through this little red thing called the Zebetite here. Nice, first try, very smooth. So what that does is by skipping through that Zebetite, the other Zebetites that would be in these pillars here don't spawn. So that just saves a bunch of time in getting through Mother Brain's room here and getting straight to the
so these turrets that are like in the corners, they can fire without warning, and they can just eat your supers as you're firing them. And they have like weird lingering hitboxes too, so they can get you in situations that seem really unfair.
All right, so now for phase 2 of the Mother Brain fight. Normally, this would take 20 shots because you would have Plasma Beam, and your fully charged Plasma Beam would take 20 shots. I believe it's 60 with...
Yeah, it's 60.
Spazer, yeah.
And then, of course, when she's below a quarter of her health, she enters the catch-up phase.
Yeah, so all of Mother Brain's attacks have sort of food-related nicknames. The blue things are onion rings. The little bombs that she drops are like chicken nuggets, I think. And when we get to the final part of the fight here, she's going to start doing what's called the catch-up attack, and that's a really dangerous attack because it does a lot of damage to Samus. And like Elm explained earlier, if you fall below 300 energy, then you will not survive the beginning of the Rainbow Beam cutscene. So we want to make sure that we really don't get hit by that catch-up attack.
I've completely lost count of my shots, so I might just get hit by it without warning.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have shut up.
There we go. All
there
right.
It is.
No, it was my fault.
There we go. Okay, so yeah, now we're in the catch-up phase. This is the final, quarter of her health. So yeah, you want to try to manipulate her so that you can kind of judge when her catch-up beam is going to fire. That little
she does kind of juke sometimes.
Yeah.
Where
right,
she like confuses you with another attack. But yeah.
Yeah. No, we're good now. So now what Elm is doing is just intentionally damaging himself down so that he's below 400 but above 300. So what that does is after the first Rainbow Beam attack that does 300 damage, he's now below 100 health. And that will trigger the next stage of this cutscene immediately, because if he was above 100 health, Mother Brain would do a few extra attacks to him just to get him down below and waste a bit of time.
What time are we at right now?
We are at 47 minutes even.
I don't think I'm going to sub 50.
It might be. It's going to be close.
No, I don't think so.
It's going to be close. All right, so the baby Metroid shows up here in this cutscene and saves us from Mother Brain by draining all of her energy and giving it to us. The baby Metroid is the best babby. All right, so now the baby Metroid is going to come over and give us all of that energy that it just drained from Mother Brain. And Mother Brain, however, is not actually dead. So if you played Super Metroid before, you know what happens in this cutscene. Mother Brain is really peeved that the baby Metroid has turned on her. So she's just going to straight up infanticide this thing.
Spoiler, Aris dies.
Yeah, basically. If you haven't played Super Metroid before, this is the spoiler part. Yeah, the statute of limitations may have passed, but everyone weep for the babby. So the babby's death does have a good outcome, though, because it bestows some extra power on Samus. That is the Hyper Beam. And so this lets us just murder the crap out of Mother Brain in the final phase here. At this point, there's no risk of dying. She's basically just at your mercy. You just need to pump Hyper Beam shots into her as fast as you possibly can.
Oh, sorry, did you say there's no risk of dying?
All right, there's no risk of dying unless you're Elm and you like messing around. Yeah, so Mother Brain just takes a bunch of shots from the Rainbow Beam before she dies. And what Elm was actually doing during that fight was he was trying to just do that even as optimally as possible by minimizing the amount of lag on that by getting closer to Mother Brain and jumping with her as she gets knocked back and forth in her animation so that he could stay close to her head and just keep pumping those shots in. Nice, 3 minutes even. So now we're coming up to the end of the game. We're coming up on time. This is the escape sequence, so all we have to do is escape the planet while it explodes.
Yeah,
And
I think I should be able to sub 50 as long as I kill the animals. So
well, the question is, do you want to kill the animals?
yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, we have it official from the audience. Kill animals, save frames. Yeah. Yeah, so what that's referring to is coming up here, we're going to be going up the shaft where the climb was and past where we got the bombs and fought Bomb Chorizo at the beginning of the game. So, time is...
Oh, wait.
you ran out of energy.
Nothing happens.
That serves you right for, running into Mother Brain, I
didn't
guess.
do anything.
This is fine. So what you can do here is you can detour down to where the bombs were before, and you can save a bunch of animals from the exploding planet, which Elm's gonna troll us a bit, I guess. But are you gonna save the animals? No? Maybe? Yes? No?
Oh, hey, the blocks are respawning. That may decide my answer.
All right. So if you come down here, you can rescue these animals, which is slower, but lots of people like the animals. So. Elm's just going to taunt. I guess what he's going to do is taunt the animals. I mean, it's to be fair. Oh, I guess he's going to bomb himself into the room. All right, so once you're in the room, you have to release the animals by shooting or bombing the right wall there. Elm's just having a bit of fun with this. So normally in a race, obviously you don't want to save the animals because it's slower. But, if you've watched any Games Done Quick marathons before when they've had Super Metroid, which is many times, they do a bid war to save or kill the animals because people love, having that fight. So time is coming up when Samus faces the front on the ship here. Boom. There we go. I mean, what is it, 50, 50?
That was the only reason I didn't sub 50, right?
Yeah, you could have sub 50'd.
No, I actually couldn't have. It would have been like 3 seconds over.
Well, maybe. It would have been close. All right, we did it. Good job, Al. Good job. Woo! Yeah, that was a good marathon run. Good marathon run. You go in a game like Super Metroid, again, if you've watched any Games Done Quick runs, anytime there's been a Super Metroid race, people have died, like almost every time. So, finishing a Super Metroid run in a marathon is, no small feat.
Any final words before we do our closing?
I'm being put on the spot now. I wasn't expecting this. I don't know. I actually submitted this category because I learned this route specifically for the Any Percent tournament that's going on because one of the people in my group, I knew I needed to learn the faster route to be able to beat him, and I actually managed to pull that off, so I'm in the bracket stage now, which is pretty cool. And the support from my own viewers has been really cool, and just some awesome people hanging out recently.
Yeah, that's a good bunch of group.
We're good?
Yeah,
All right, thank you. Thank you for the speed run. 50-58. That's pretty good. Thank you.
Woohoo!
Okay, we're going to close up. Good night, Eric. We're going to close up. Thank you guys for tuning in to Games Finished. Thank you to all the speedrunners that helped us today.